The Ballon d'Or has overwhelmingly favoured attacking feats in its existence. Only a handful of defenders have ever claimed the award, and just one solitary goalkeeper. The position of fullback, though, has never been on it. In 1965, Italian left-back Giacinto Facchetti came the closest, finishing in second place. This is a story of Giacinto Facchetti-Cipe number 3. Born in the province of Bergamo, Facchetti was described as a model student by his former teachers, and whilst he had aspirations of becoming a doctor, he began a footballing career with hometown club GSD Mario Zanconti, before moving to local club Favoured. He was deployed as a forward there, with his high work rate, great speed and powerful shots making him an influential figure at the attacking end of the pitch. Around this time, Inter were in a title race with Juventus and Milan, under the guidance of legendary manager Helenio Herrera, and buoyed by the signing of midfield general Luis Suarez. Herrera was known for scouring nearby regions on the search for homegrown talent, and it was through this he would discover and immediately forge an agreement to sign Giacinto Facchetti. Despite excelling at Favoured in the attacking position, Herrera had always intended on utilising Facchetti as a fullback in his Catenaccio system at Inter. Work was put in to improve the defensive side of Fachetti's game, which he learned at a speed which surprised and impressed Herrera to such an extent he gave him a handful of games in the latter half of the 60-61 season, with Facchetti making his professional debut in a 2-0 away win against Roma, before scoring against Napoli in only his second top-flight appearance. His influence would grow in the first team, making 15 appearances in his first full season, and by the 62-63 season, he was a fully established member of the team that would go on to be known as Grande Inter. He would contribute 4 goals in defence this season, as Inter won their first Scudetto in 9 years, conceding just 20 goals along the way. Facchetti would soon form a strong partnership with right-sided fullback Tarkiso Bernich, both of whom were strong defensively, whilst also very effective in the fast counter-attacks which Inter relied on for much of their goal-scoring. Facchetti had tasted domestic success at the age of 20, and success on the continent wouldn't be too far behind either. On the 27th of May, 1964, Inter featured in their first ever European Cup final, where they found themselves facing a legendary and heavily fancied Real Madrid side, whose front line included Paco Gento, Ferenc Puskás and Alfredo Di Stefano. Whilst he was also prominent in setting up a number of Inter's attacks, it was his bold, bullish defending that would earn Facchetti praise, with him positioning himself very close to the centre-backs, as Herrera's Grande Inter side emerged 3-1 winners in Vienna, with Sandro Mazzola and Aurelio Milani helping themselves to the goals. Inter's success in Europe would continue into the following season, with their ability to soak up pressure and hit teams on the break, proving perfect for the tournament's knockout format, and they found themselves in the final again, where this time they would face Eusebio's Benfica. It was a tense final, but Facchetti and the rest of Inter's defence would stand firm, shutting out Benfica, allowing a solitary goal from Jair to secure a 1-0 win in their home stadium. At the age of 22, Facchetti was a champion of Europe for a second time. Having just experienced what would be the most decorated season of his career, only denied a treble by a Coppa Italia final defeat to Juventus, Facchetti would follow this up with the most productive season of his career in terms of output. He kick-started the season with 2 goals in Inter's opening day win, and by Christmas he would have 5 goals in the league already. In December 1965, at the Ballon d'Or ceremony in Paris, Facchetti would be recognised for his astonishing year with Inter, finishing second by the likes of Franz Beckenbauer, Lev Yashin, Ferenc Puskás and Bobby Charlton, finishing only behind Eusebio, who had recently rounded off a 48-goal season with Benfica. It was to date the highest ever finish for a fullback in the Ballon d'Or rankings. Facchetti would continue his goal-scoring feats into the second half of the season, ending the Serie A campaign with a total of 10 goals from defence. This would stand for 35 years as the record tally for a defender in Serie A, before being broken by Marco Materazzi in the 2000-2001 season. Fachetti's goals from defence would directly earn 5 points for Inter, as they beat out closest rivals Bologna by 4 points, to win the league title for a second consecutive year. On the international stage, Facchetti would have mixed fortunes. In 1963, he made his mark on the world stage in an international friendly at the San Siro, standing firm in defence as Italy cruised to a 3-0 win against Pele's Brazil. However, with Italy not making the finals to the 1964 European Championship, he would have to wait until the World Cup in 1966 for his debut at an international tournament. It would not, however, go to plan. Despite a 2-0 victory against Chile on the first match day, Italy would then falter. They were beaten 1-0 in the second group game by an informed Soviet Union side, but progression was still in their own hands. All they needed to do was win against the final group stage opponents, North Korea. Instead, however, they would fall victim to one of the greatest World Cup shocks of all time, as they slumped to a 1-0 defeat, allowing North Korea to leapfrog them into second place, and Italy were out. In the wake of this defeat, Facchetti would write to an English journalist who prior to the tournament had sung his praises, proclaiming him to be the greatest defender in the world. Facchetti apologised for his lack of form and for failing to replicate these talents on the world stage. 2 years later, Italy qualified for the finals of Euro 68. With the tournament featuring only 4 sides in total, Italy were able to scrape through to the final with a coin toss, deciding their semi-final victory over the Soviet Union. Their experience in the final would not be straightforward, however, with a replay required to eventually topple Yugoslavia 2-0. Italy were European champions, with Giacinto Facchetti, their captain, receiving the trophy and holding it high, whilst being held aloft by his teammates. In the 1970 World Cup, Italy were finalists once more, playing against Brazil. They could not repeat their heroics of 68, however, as they were put to the sword by an all-powerful Brazil side, with a team goal converted by Carlos Alberto, rounding off a 4-1 dismantling. Despite being outclassed on the biggest stage, Italy left Mexico in high spirits, for they knew how grand their achievement of reaching the final had been. They ground their way through an incredibly competitive group to finish top, before coming from a goal down in the quarter-finals to eliminate host Mexico with an emphatic 4-1 victory. In the semi-final, they faced one of the great West Germany sides, who had just knocked out England, the reigning World Cup holders. Early on, Franz Beckenbauer, playing with high confidence, weaved his way through the entire team, bearing down on goal before being thwarted by a last-ditch tackle from the towering Facchetti. Italy defended strong and looked to be seeing out a 1-0 win, before West Germany, throwing everything at Italy, eventually managed to force a 90th minute equaliser. In extra time, Fachetti's defensive partner Bernic scored to cancel out an early goal from Gerd Müller, and a goal from Riva put Italy ahead just before half-time in extra time. At this point, the intensity of the game was taking its toll on both sides, with Franz Beckenbauer even playing with his dislocated arm in a sling. A goal apiece in the second half ensured Italy's progression, and whilst they would ultimately fall at the final hurdle, no one could take away the fact that Italy had emerged victorious in one of the greatest and most competitive World Cup matches of all time. In the latter half of his career, Facchetti would win the Scudetto for a 4th time with Inter in 1971, and he would be a European finalist again, both in 1967 and 1972, where they were beaten both times. First by Jock Steen's Celtic side, and second coming at the hands of Kovac's Ajax, and a 2-goal performance by Johan Cruyff. Despite being firmly established as captain of his country, Facchetti would have to wait until the final season of his career for the chance to captain his club side, following the retirement of Sandro Mazzola the previous season. Whilst Facchetti was not in the matchday squad, he would watch on, as Inter won the Coppa Italia in a final against Napoli, bringing an admirable end to Fachetti's 629-game career with Inter. In this time, he received just a single red card, a second yellow which he received for sarcastically clapping the referee, and he walked off whilst receiving a standing ovation from the San Siro faithful. His 59 top-flight goals remain, to this day, as the record goals total scored by a defender in the Italian league. An Inter legend, Giacinto Facchetti, or Cipe, a nickname many would know him by, born of a mispronunciation of his name by manager Helenio Herrera, would become a permanent figure at Inter following his retirement from playing. He would hold many positions at the club, including technical director, worldwide ambassador and vice chairman, before being elected chairman of the club in January 2004, a position he would hold until his death to pancreatic cancer 2.5 years later. Whilst his final years as chairman at Inter are marred with debates about his role in the Calciopoli scandal continuing for many years after his death, what nobody could deny was the level to which he had been an asset to football as a whole. He was described by long-term teammate Matt Zola as the greatest figure on the field and off it, whilst Paolo Maldini has spoken at length of the influence that Giacinto Facchetti had on his own style of play. It was the bond between club and player that would make Fachetti's legacy so special, saying at one point, "There are days when it has been easy to be an Interista, some when it is a duty, and some when it is an honour." Thank you for taking the time to watch this video on the AFC Finners channel. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please have a look at the channel down below and check out the hundreds of videos available. If you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, you can do so in the link below for as little as £1 a month. Please let me know what you thought of this video and what topic you'd like me to cover next. See you next time.